Time can be counted in minutes. The detachment of a thrombus is one of the most dangerous conditions that can occur suddenly and without warning. What happens in the next 10 to 15 minutes can change someone's fate. Sometimes it can even save a life. But there's one important point. The body almost never stays silent. It sends signals that are subtle, alarming, almost whispering. However, these signals can be recognized if you know what to look for and what to listen to. This attentiveness to yourself and to your loved ones can make all the difference. Perhaps one day you will recognize such signals not in yourself, but in someone nearby. The timely action you take could be a gift, granting someone an entire life ahead. Margaret was just going about her day in the kitchen, performing her usual routine. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Then, suddenly, a sharp dizziness hit her, as if the floor had shifted beneath her feet. She felt her arm go numb, her chest grow heavy, and a strange wave of weakness washed over her, as if all her strength was draining away. She didn't want to worry her son, thinking, "It's probably just low blood pressure." But he insisted. He called for an ambulance. Once in the car, the doctors voiced what she couldn't even imagine. A blood clot had dislodged, a condition that could have led to a stroke. But they were in time. Because someone nearby understood, this wasn't just fatigue. It was a cry for help. Blood clots often form unnoticed over weeks or even months, especially in older individuals, where movement becomes less frequent and chronic conditions like varicose veins, heart issues, and high blood pressure exist. Clots can develop in both veins and arteries, slowly accumulating without showing obvious signs. But the greatest danger lies in the moment of dislodgement. At that point, the clot can block a vessel supplying blood to the heart, lungs, or brain. And that's when it's no longer just about feeling unwell. It's an immediate crisis where every minute counts, deciding between life and death. When does a blood clot detach? A blood clot detaches when a mass of blood that was previously anchored to the wall of a blood vessel suddenly breaks free and begins to travel with the blood flow. When it reaches a narrow passage, it can completely block the vessel. This causes oxygen deprivation to the organ that the blood was supplying, such as the brain, lungs, or heart. This can lead to serious conditions like a heart attack, stroke, or pulmonary embolism, where every minute counts. If the symptoms of detachment are not recognized at the moment, the consequences can be irreversible. Loss of consciousness, paralysis, respiratory failure, and cardiac arrest can occur. What's particularly frustrating is that it often starts with a minor symptom that can easily be mistaken for fatigue or stress. If we don't learn to recognize these signs, we may find ourselves unprepared. And now, the most important part. Together, we will explore the warning signs your body may send when there's a risk of a blood clot detaching. What exactly can you feel in your chest, head, arms, or legs? And most importantly, which sensations should never be ignored, even for a second? What actions should you take immediately, without waiting for things to get better? This isn't meant to scare you. It's calm, practical knowledge that is vital. Because one day, this awareness could not only safeguard your health, but also save your life. Please rate how useful you found this video on a scale from 1 to 10, and be sure to share it with those you care about. This knowledge could be a true gift. How can you recognize a blood clot detachment in its earliest stages, when there's still time to act? Paradoxically, the initial signs are often subtle, not dramatic. They can be quiet and vague. You might experience feelings of weakness, a slight heaviness in your chest, sudden dizziness, or numbness in a limb, which can easily be mistaken for fatigue, overexertion, or changing weather. This is why such symptoms often go unnoticed. But at this moment, time becomes incredibly precious, because the first 10 to 15 minutes can determine everything. The sooner we recognize these faint signals, the higher our chances of preserving our health, and sometimes even our lives. The body almost always tries to warn us. We just need to pause and learn to listen. What happens when a thrombus breaks loose? When a thrombus detaches, it starts moving with the blood flow through the vessels. If it blocks an artery or a vein, it disrupts the oxygen supply to the organs. The body reacts immediately, and symptoms appear depending on where the thrombus travels. If it goes to the lungs, there may be sudden shortness of breath, a feeling of suffocation, and chest pain. If it travels to the heart, symptoms can include sharp pain, a feeling of pressure, anxiety, and pain that may radiate to the arm or jaw. If it reaches the brain, it can cause sudden dizziness, slurred speech, and numbness on one side of the body. If it affects the leg or arm, there can be intense pain, swelling, paleness, or redness in the limb, along with a sensation of heat. All these signs should not be ignored and are a serious reason to call for help. Here's what happened to one man. George, 78 years old, woke up one morning with slight numbness in the fingers of his left hand. He thought he had just slept on it. Then he noticed a strange feeling, as if the right side of his face felt a bit heavy. His wife observed that he was speaking slowly and unclearly. They didn't wait. After 8 minutes, they called for an ambulance. At the hospital, it was confirmed that he was in the early stages of an ischemic stroke, caused by a detached thrombus that blocked a vessel in his brain. Thanks to their quick response, the consequences were minimal. Just a week later, George was back home. If they had waited, things would have been different, his doctor said. If you notice any of the symptoms described, don't wait. Don't take a pill. Don't lie down to rest. Call emergency services. While waiting for help to arrive, open a window or ensure fresh air is coming in. Don't eat or drink anything. Sit in a comfortable position. Don't lie down if you feel dizzy. If you have shortness of breath, breathe slowly through your nose. If you have aspirin and you're sure there are no contraindications, place half of it under your tongue, only if you have chest pain. Important, it's better to make a mistake once than to be late once. And if your concerns turn out to be unfounded, you've just taken an extra step to look after yourself. If they are confirmed, you'll already be one step ahead. What's the most important thing? Blood clots don't appear out of nowhere. In most cases, they develop gradually in response to a sedentary lifestyle, hidden inflammation, metabolic issues, or heart problems. Often, a person isn't even aware that they are on the brink of danger until a clot makes its presence known. Knowing the risk factors isn't a reason to be afraid. It's a tool. And if you know you belong to a risk group, you gain the power to control the situation and reduce the threat. Why does this happen? As we age, our blood vessels gradually lose their natural elasticity, and blood flow slows down, especially if we lead a sedentary lifestyle. Under such conditions, blood becomes thicker, which primarily affects the veins, most often in the legs, where blood clots can begin to form. But it's not just age and inactivity that increase the risk. There are other significant factors that greatly elevate the likelihood of thrombosis. These include varicose veins and venous insufficiency, past surgeries or injuries, especially to the legs, prolonged periods of sitting without movement, such as during long trips or sedentary work, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and elevated cholesterol levels. Certain medications also contribute to the risk, including hormonal treatments and some pain relievers. Additionally, people with a history of smoking, those with cancer or undergoing chemotherapy, and individuals suffering from heart failure, arrhythmias, or atrial fibrillation are also at higher risk. All these conditions create an environment where even a slight thickening of the blood can become dangerous. That's why it's so important to recognize the signals your body sends and respond to them in a timely manner. The body gives early warnings. Heaviness in the legs, swelling by evening, nighttime cramps, and numbness in the limbs are all reasons to pay attention. Here's an example. Peter, 68, always considered himself healthy for his age. Yes, he had varicose veins and some extra weight, but overall he felt fine. Until one day on a plane, after 4 hours of sitting, he experienced a strange pain and warmth in his calf. At first he didn't think much of it. 2 days later, there was redness, swelling, and the leg became swollen. At the hospital, they diagnosed deep vein thrombosis. The doctor said bluntly, "If you had waited a couple more days, the clot could have detached and traveled to your lungs." Since then, Peter does simple exercises every day, drinks more water, and keeps an eye on his veins. "I've realized that ignoring your body can be the costliest mistake," he says. So, what should you do, you might ask? If you recognize even one risk factor in yourself, start with simple steps. Move every hour, especially if you sit for long periods. Do foot rolls, lift your heels, and bend your legs. Drink water. Dehydration thickens your blood. Monitor your weight and reduce sugar in your diet. Wear compression stockings if you have varicose veins. Get blood clotting tests. D-dimer, fibrinogen, cholesterol, at least once a year. Discuss with your doctor if you are taking medications that affect blood flow. And most importantly, don't procrastinate. Even a simple morning walk or stretching at home before breakfast gets your blood flowing. And that's already a step towards a healthier life. You can reduce your risk on your own. Here's how. When it comes to blood clots, many people think of them as something sudden and unpredictable, like a stroke of bad luck. But the truth is, we can influence this risk every day without pills, injections, or anxiety. Simple, regular actions like movement, nutrition, breathing, and maintaining a routine can keep our blood flowing, our vessels elastic, and our bodies protected. The key here is not force, but gentle, daily self-care. What happens when we move? When we move, even just walking around the room, the veins in our legs pump blood back to the heart. This reduces stagnation and the risk of thrombosis. When we breathe deeply, especially by relaxing our abdomen, the diaphragm massages the veins in the abdominal cavity, causing blood to circulate more actively. And when we drink enough water, our blood becomes less viscous, flows more easily, and is less likely to form clots. All of this works not just in theory, but right now, within each of us. Here's a simple yet illustrative example. Anna, 74 years old, used to wake up with swollen legs, a feeling of heaviness and anxiety about long trips. Following her daughter's advice, she established a movement routine. Every 45 minutes, she takes a short walk around her room, starts her mornings with breathing exercises, and drinks a glass of water with lemon. Within a week, the swelling in her legs subsided, and after a month, she felt ready to visit her sister in another city. I realized that my health depends not on the doctor but on me, she said, while stretching her foot by the window. Here's what you can do right now, easily and effortlessly. Walk or roll your feet every 30-60 minutes, especially if you sit a lot. Elevate your legs on a pillow for 15 to 20 minutes in the evening to improve venous drainage. Practice belly breathing for 3 to 5 minutes a day to stimulate blood flow. Drink a glass of warm water with lemon in the morning and throughout the day to enhance blood fluidity. Perform light self-massage on your legs from bottom to top, especially before bedtime. Nutrition. Add garlic, onion, greens, turmeric, lemon, and ginger to your diet. They naturally reduce clotting and improve circulation. Cut back on sugar and processed foods, especially in the evening. And most importantly, aim for at least 7 hours of sleep. It's during sleep that the regeneration of blood vessel walls and normalization of metabolism occur. Now listen carefully. What triggers blood clots? Sometimes we try to stay active, drink water, but we still feel heaviness, fatigue, and fluctuations in blood pressure. Why is that? Because there are certain foods that literally thicken the blood, cause inflammation, and disrupt vascular function. Even if you consume them in small amounts, your body, especially as you age, reacts quickly. If you have a predisposition to blood clots, your diet can either be supportive or pose a risk. It's important to not be afraid, but to make conscious choices. Avoid these foods. Sugar increases insulin levels, causes inflammation of the blood vessel walls, and thickens the blood. Fatty red meat and processed meats contain saturated fats that raise cholesterol levels and promote plaque formation. Margarines, fried foods, and trans fats disrupt cell structure and lead to chronic inflammation. Dairy products in excess can lead to thickening of lymph and the formation of mucus, especially in sensitive individuals. High salt intake retains water, increases blood pressure, and disrupts the balance of sodium and potassium. Alcohol in small doses dilates blood vessels, but in larger amounts it thickens the blood and weakens the liver, which is responsible for filtering out excess coagulants from the bloodstream. The body becomes overloaded. Blood flow slows down, blood vessels become inflamed, and cells do not receive enough oxygen. This is truly an inspiring and touching story. Grace, 70, lost herself after the passing of her husband. Food became an afterthought. She relied on quick sandwiches, processed meats, and sweet supermarket yogurts. Before she realized it, extra pounds began to accumulate. Her fatigue worsened, and she experienced shortness of breath even at rest. Everything changed after a distressing episode of sharp chest pain. She was hospitalized, examined, and diagnosed with venous thrombosis. While in the hospital, she was gently informed that nutrition is not just a habit, but one of the most important factors for health. Today, Grace keeps a food diary, adds fresh vegetables and herbs to every meal, and has left processed meats, sugar, and baked goods in the past. I realized, she says, that taking care of myself is not strict or burdensome. On the contrary, it feels very authentic. It's about giving yourself what you truly need. Here are some steps to make nutrition your ally in preventing blood clots. Replace red meat with fish, legumes, eggs, and plant-based proteins. Eliminate margarine and fried foods. Opt for steaming, baking, or stewing instead. Reduce sugar intake, especially in beverages and processed foods. Incorporate antithrombotic foods such as garlic, ginger, turmeric, lemon, dark berries, and leafy greens. Use natural sources of fats like olive oil, avocado, flax seeds, and nuts. Drink warm water and herbal teas, adding lemon and mint for a gentle blood-thinning effect. And most importantly, avoid mindless eating. Ask yourself, does this food heal or burden my body? In addition to foods that thicken the blood, there are foods that gently thin the blood safely and can be enjoyed every day. Many people think that thinning the blood is all about medications and doctors. However, nature has long provided its own remedies that help keep blood flowing freely and prevent blood vessels from becoming blocked. These foods can be consumed daily without the fear of side effects. They are not exotic. You can easily find them at your local grocery store. The key is knowing how to combine them properly. When blood becomes too thick, it moves slowly, creates excess pressure, damages the walls of blood vessels, and increases the risk of clots. Foods that contain natural anticoagulants can help maintain balance. Garlic activates enzymes that prevent platelets from clumping together. Ginger improves microcirculation and reduces inflammation. Turmeric, especially with black pepper, decreases blood clotting thanks to curcumin. Lemons and limes, rich in vitamin C, enhance blood fluidity. Berries, especially blueberries, raspberries, and cranberries, contain anthocyanins that strengthen blood vessels. Extra virgin olive oil is rich in antioxidants and lowers bad cholesterol levels. Tomatoes contain lycopene, which improves blood flow. Dark chocolate, 70% cocoa or higher, in small amounts dilates blood vessels and boosts mood. Regularly incorporating these foods into your diet can help naturally regulate blood viscosity without putting extra strain on the liver and kidneys. Louise, 69, became fearful of everything after her stroke: food, walks, even sleep. The doctor prescribed medications, but she wanted to be an active participant in her recovery. With a dietitian, she developed a simple plan: garlic for lunch every day, lemon water in the morning, berries with her oatmeal, and a drizzle of olive oil on her salad. After 2 months, her health indicators improved, and she felt more stable. "I felt like I was in control of my life again," she said with a warm smile, stirring her turmeric soup. Where to start? Begin with something simple. In the morning, warm water with lemon and honey. Breakfast, oatmeal with berries and a pinch of grated ginger. Lunch, salad with olive oil, garlic, and tomatoes. Dinner, sautéed vegetables with turmeric, served with a slice of lime on the fish. Dessert, a piece of dark chocolate and a cup of herbal tea with mint. Important: if you are already taking blood-thinning medications, like warfarin, be sure to discuss this with your doctor to avoid any interactions. However, in most cases, these foods can be used gently and regularly as part of a sensible diet for prevention. They should not replace medications, but rather serve as support. Let's summarize. We've embarked on a journey where we've learned not just facts, but how our bodies communicate with us. They never remain silent. They whisper through fatigue, dizziness, heaviness in our legs, and shortness of breath. Sometimes they shout in moments of pain, anxiety, or panic, and they speak the loudest when there's already a brewing threat in our blood vessels. But the most important thing we've learned is that we have much more influence than we often realize. The term thrombus detachment is a frightening one, but it carries more than just fear. It embodies the power of knowledge, the strength of choice, and the importance of care. because each day is an opportunity to do something that can protect us and our loved ones. Everything you've learned today is not just theory. These are tools. You already know what the early signs look like and which symptoms should never be ignored. Who is at risk? Which simple actions and foods can help reduce blood thickness, and which foods you should avoid if you want to minimize your risk. This is the solution. No extremes, no fear, just mindfulness, just care, just consistency. The body doesn't ask for much. It doesn't need perfect conditions. It needs your support. Through movement, through breathing, through a glass of water, and through what you choose to put on your plate. You might be thinking, but I'm already old. I have health issues. It's too late to change anything. But that's not true. It's never too late to signal your body that you care for it. Your body doesn't blame you. It doesn't punish you. It simply waits for you to give it a little more oxygen, a little more movement, and a little less stress. And it will respond gently, gradually. This isn't just about healing. It's about starting to live more easily. Even if you're already on medication, everything we've talked about will work alongside it. Because food, water, breathing, and rest are a universal language that every body understands. So start small. Tomorrow morning, walk around the room. Drink a glass of warm water with lemon. Elevate your legs on a pillow in the evening. Read through a list of symptoms and memorize the 34 key signals. And also, talk to your loved ones. Explain why you're no longer ignoring that strange weakness or heaviness in your chest. You might become the person who one day helps someone else not to overlook their own life. And share this video or this story. Let it reach those who think it doesn't concern them. Because knowledge shared with love can save lives. Now imagine, it's morning. You wake up without pain. Your body feels light. Your mind is at peace. You walk to the window and warm light touches your face. In the distance, birds are chirping. On the table, there's simple yet nourishing food. Water, greens, lemon, and a few seeds. And you know, you are not on the path of illness. You are on the path of life. You are not fighting. You are not waiting for a miracle. You are simply living in harmony with your body, in sync with movement, with breath, with nature. All of this became possible the moment you chose not to be afraid, but to take action. Gently, patiently, with love for yourself.